Chapter 1. Closing Hours. Ocean Eyes. I was wiping down the espresso machine, humming under my breath, when I heard the tap. 3 short knocks on the marble counter. I turned, expecting Jana or someone picking up a late to go. And then I saw him. He was tall, sharp jaw, perfectly styled dark hair, and eyes. God, those eyes. Deep blue, like they held a storm. He didn't blink, just stared. I froze. "If you've stared enough," he said slowly, his voice low and cold, "take my order." Sorry, I stammered, clutching the rag like it was a lifeline. "Of course, what would you like?" He raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "Black coffee, no sugar." "Right, one moment." I turned so fast I nearly dropped the cup. My hands trembled as I poured. It was just a customer. A very rude, unfairly attractive customer. I'd seen models, businessmen, even an influencer once, but no one like him. When I returned, he was still staring. "Your coffee," I said, placing it down carefully. He didn't touch it. "Do you always stare at strangers like that?" "No," I whispered, then cleared my throat. "It's late. I wasn't expecting anyone." He smirked. "You don't work the night shift often." I blinked. "How do you know that?" "Because I come here often," he said, eyes narrowing slightly. "You're new to me." I felt heat crawl up my neck. "I usually take the evening shift. I was covering for someone tonight." He nodded once, then finally reached for the cup. "So what's your name?" "Lily." "Lily," he repeated, testing the word like it meant something. "I'm Maxim." "Of course you are." The name fit him. Rich, sharp, impossible to forget. "I didn't mean to stare," I said quietly, gripping the edge of the counter. You looked familiar for a second." He gave a dry laugh. "I get that a lot." "Movie star?" I asked before I could stop myself. He raised one brow again. "Billionaire." My jaw nearly dropped. I quickly looked down. Pretending to rearrange the sugar packets. "Well, that explains the confidence." "And the coffee?" "You'll get loyalty points like everyone else." He chuckled, and for a second, his face softened. "Just a little." "Fair," he said, sipping the coffee. "Strong, like your stare." I bit my lip. "Are you always this blunt? Are you always this jumpy?" I met his gaze. "Only when people surprise me." Another pause. He tapped the cup once, then looked around the empty cafe. "Quiet here. It's almost closing time. Most people don't want caffeine at midnight. I do." Clearly. His lips twitched, like he was trying not to smile. "You live near here?" My heart skipped. "Why?" "Just curious. I don't usually answer personal questions from strangers." He tilted his head. "Fair. But I won't be a stranger for long." "Is that a threat or a promise?" He leaned in slightly. "That depends on how often you stare." I flushed again, cursed myself for it. "Maybe you should take your coffee and go." "Maybe I will." He stood slowly, pushing back the stool with one hand. He placed a folded bill under the cup, far more than the drink cost. "Keep the change, Lily." I swallowed hard. "You didn't have to." "I know." And then he left. The bell above the door jingled, and the cold night air rushed in before it swung shut. I stood there for a moment, heart racing, staring at the empty stool. Jana came out from the back, yawning. "Anyone still here?" I shook my head. "No, just someone." She looked at the tip on the counter. "Holy, who dropped that?" "A billionaire," I mumbled, still stunned. She blinked. "What?" "Nothing," I said quickly. "Just go home, I'll close." She shrugged and disappeared back into the locker room. I wiped the counter again, slower this time. My hands were still shaking. Why did I stare? Why did he come back? And why did his voice sound like it knew something about me I didn't? I didn't have answers. Just the memory of his eyes, and a feeling deep in my stomach I couldn't explain. I locked the cafe, stepped out into the dark, and pulled my coat tighter around me. The street was empty, but I still felt watched. Chapter 2. The Girl Who Blushed. "Hey, Lily," Jana whispered, nudging me with her elbow as I straightened the napkin holders. "Guess who just walked in again?" I didn't need to guess. That tap. 3 short knocks. Same time. Same seat. I looked up, and there he was, Maxim, already sitting at table 9. His eyes fixed on me like he'd been waiting. "You again," he said. I forced a polite smile. "Welcome back." "I just came for coffee," he added, voice dipped in that same smirk from the night before. But his eyes, they said otherwise. "What can I get you?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "Same as last night." I nodded and turned toward the machine, grateful for the excuse to face away from him. Jana leaned in, whispering as she pretended to wipe the sugar containers. "You know who that is, right?" I shrugged. "Maxim, he told me." She scoffed. "Maxim Vitrovsky, billionaire, owns that real estate firm near the river. The one with the glass tower." I stiffened. So? "So he doesn't come here, like ever. This place isn't his vibe, you are." "Don't be ridiculous," she nudged my arm. "I'm just saying, he's staring. Let him stare." I brought over the coffee, careful not to meet his eyes. "Here you go." He tilted his head. "Didn't expect to see you again." "I work here," I replied quietly. "No, I meant, never mind." He sipped, then added, "Didn't think you'd show your face after the blushing incident." I exhaled sharply. If I ran every time I got embarrassed, I wouldn't be anywhere. He grinned. "I admire that. I don't need your admiration." "Clearly," he said, leaning back. "But I'm offering it anyway." I didn't respond, just cleared a nearby table. He didn't leave for another 30 minutes. And when he did, he said, "Maybe I'll see you tomorrow too." I didn't answer. I didn't plan to be here tomorrow. But plans rarely mattered. Because the next day, I walked into the cafe, again covering for someone, and there he was. Only this time, he wasn't alone. She was beautiful. Golden hair, high cheekbones, designer scarf knotted perfectly at her throat. She looked like money. She looked like she belonged beside him. I froze for half a second. Then I walked over. "Welcome," I said, eyes flicking between them. He didn't smile, just nodded. "Coffee, too." The girl didn't even look at me. She was busy scrolling on her phone. As I turned away, Jana whispered, "Told you, testing you." "What?" "He brought her to see if you'd still blush." I shook my head. "I don't care." "You do." "No," I said flatly, "I really don't." I poured their drinks with steady hands. No blush, no fluttering heart. Just cold. When I placed the mugs on the table, she finally looked up at me. "Is this place safe?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. I blinked. "Safe?" Maxim cut in. "It's quiet. That's what I like about it." She rolled her eyes and went back to scrolling. I walked away before I could hear more. He didn't stay long this time. When they left, he didn't say a word. But he glanced back once, just before the door closed, and our eyes met for barely a second. Later, after closing, I stood alone behind the counter, staring at the mop in my hand. "What's up with you?" Jana asked, locking up. "Nothing." "You're lying." "Jana," I whispered, "why would a man like that come here? Why bring her?" She hesitated. "Because you made him feel something. And now he's trying to figure out if it was real." "Real?" I laughed bitterly. "Nothing is real." Jana didn't answer. I walked home alone that night, my boots crunching softly over the frozen sidewalk. The Prague sky was gray and dull, stars barely visible. My breath fogged in front of me, but the cold inside me was worse. As I reached the tiny room I called home, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the chipped wall in front of me. I remembered Moscow, the frost on the windows, my mother's voice, sharp, final. "You've embarrassed us enough. Leave." I'd begged, "Mama, please, I didn't do anything." Her silence hurt more than the words. The sound of that door slamming behind me had never left, not even now. And that's why I don't trust pretty men with cold eyes and warm coffee. That's why I don't fall. That's why I survive. Just survive. Chapter 3. Flirting with fire. He came back the next night, alone this time. Black coffee? I asked, without looking directly at him. Is that your way of saying you missed me? I rolled my eyes. Is that your way of saying you have no other hobbies? He snarked. You're fun when you're annoyed. I'm working. You were working last time too, and you still stared at me. I crossed my arms. You keep bringing that up like it wounded your pride. He leaned in slightly. It didn't wound me. It intrigued me. I swallowed hard and turned back to the espresso machine. My fingers shook a little, just enough for me to hate myself for it. When I placed the cup on his table, he tapped the rim. Still not asking how I take it? I figure a billionaire can afford to speak up if you want syrup. He laughed, genuinely this time. Touché. Each night he returned. Sometimes he stayed for hours, sipping slowly. Talking about things I never expected. Architecture, his dog from childhood, old books he never finished. Sometimes I forgot he was him. But then he'd smirk, say something cocky, and I'd remember. Still, I kept my distance. He noticed. You don't like compliments, do you? I wiped the counter. I don't trust motives. He tilted his head. You think I have bad ones? I think you have too many. He smiled, and you're the first girl who isn't begging for them. Good. Then leave me out of your games. He didn't answer. Just sipped his coffee and watched me like I was some riddle he hadn't cracked yet. That week, I took the long route home. Because one night, after closing, I spotted his BMW parked across the street. Lights off, engine running. He wasn't even hiding. I kept walking, pretending not to see, my heart hammering louder than my boots. The next night, it was there again, and again. He never said a word about it, but I knew. He was watching me. Why? Was he checking if I had someone else? Was he trying to protect me? Or control me? I didn't ask. I just started skipping shifts. Jana noticed first. You okay? You look pale. I'm tired. You're lying. I sighed. He's too much. I don't know what he wants. She lowered her voice. Guys like him don't want anything real. They want the chase. I don't want to be chased. Then stop letting him in. That night, I didn't show up to work, or the night after, or the whole week. I stayed inside my tiny apartment, curtains drawn. I stared at the walls, at the chipped paint, at the photo of me as a child, back when I still believed in home. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Maxim, you alive? I didn't reply. 5 minutes later. Maxim, you're not at work. Did something happen? 10 more minutes. Maxim, I swear if someone hurt you. I turned the phone off. I didn't want to feel anything. Not this guilt. Not this fear. Not the way my chest ached at his concern. What was I doing? What was this? When I finally returned, Jana hugged me so hard I almost cried. You idiot, she whispered. You can't just disappear like that. I needed space. From him? From everything. She didn't argue. That night, I wasn't expecting him. But there he was, table 9. He stood as soon as I walked out from the back. Lily. I blinked. Hi, you vanished. I needed time. You scared me. I didn't mean to. He stepped closer. I thought maybe I pushed too hard. I stayed quiet. You didn't answer my messages. I know. I drove past your building. I didn't see lights. You shouldn't do that. I had to make sure. I looked up. His face wasn't angry. It was tight, frustrated. But beneath it, fear. You barely know me, I said softly. I know enough. To what? Follow me? Watch me from your car? I wasn't spying, he said. I don't know what I was doing. That's the problem. He exhaled. You think I'm playing some game, aren't you? He looked wounded. Do I seem like I'm winning? That silenced me. He took a breath. I've met 1,000 beautiful women. None of them made me feel like a complete idiot. Is that supposed to be a compliment? It's supposed to be the truth. I swallowed hard. He stepped back, finally. I'll leave if that's what you want. I didn't say yes. But I didn't say no. And that scared me more than anything. Chapter 4. Beneath the Ice. Come with me. I blinked. What? Maxim stood by the cafe door, hands in his coat pockets, looking more human than I'd ever seen him. It's late, I said. He nodded. Exactly. I hesitated. Why? No coffee, no counter, just a walk. I don't even know you. He tilted his head. You know me more than most. I shouldn't. You can say no. His voice wasn't cocky this time. It was quiet, like it might break if I pushed too hard. I grabbed my scarf. We didn't talk at first, just walked along the Vltava River. The street lamps shimmered across the water, turning the city into gold and black. He glanced sideways. You cold? No. He nodded again, kept walking. I couldn't help it. Why me? He didn't answer immediately. You look at people like they might vanish. I don't. You do. I looked down at my boots. Where are we going? Nowhere. Just walking. So this is your idea of, what, romance? He stopped. No. This is my idea of not feeling alone. I swallowed. That's honest. We kept walking. He shoved his hands deeper into his coat. Where are you from? I hesitated. Nowhere I want to go back to. He looked over. Russia, right? I nodded. Moscow. Big city. Cold. Not just the weather. He didn't ask more. Didn't press. Instead, he said, I left Kyiv when I was 17. My father died. My mother remarried a man who hated me. Boarding school was the better option. I looked at him. You ran. He shrugged. Didn't have a choice. I know the feeling. Did you run alone? Yes. He slowed his pace. That's brave. No, just desperate. Still, he said, you survived. We walked in silence for a while. The quiet didn't feel awkward anymore. I spoke first. Why do you always seem angry? He cracked a small smile. Because being guarded is easier than being broken. I paused. You're broken? Aren't you? I didn't answer. He looked up at the sky. You ever see the Charles Bridge at sunrise? No. Then I'll take you. I didn't agree to anything. He smirked. Yet. Do you always do this? I asked. Chase girls who avoid you? Only the ones who make my heart race. I stared at him. His tone changed. Will says I'm losing my mind. Will? My friend. Only real one probably. Works in my tech firm. So you're not just a billionaire. You're a tech guy too? I own part of a cloud security startup. We help banks avoid cyber breaches. Exciting stuff. Sounds like you're trying to impress me. He laughed softly. Is it working? I shrugged. You're not as unbearable as I thought. He looked at me again, this time softer. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all week. I smiled despite myself. He stopped walking. We stood by a railing, the river below gliding like dark glass. I don't trust easily, I said quietly. I figured. I don't do this. I know. I turned to face him. But I'm here. He nodded. And I won't ruin that. We stood like that for a while, not touching, just close. He finally whispered, I don't think you're like anyone I've ever met. That's because I'm broken in places you can't see. He didn't flinch. Then maybe I'll just sit beside you in the dark, until the light finds us both. I stared at him. No teasing this time. No walls. Just something I hadn't seen in years. Truth. It scared me. We started walking again. This time slower. As we reached the edge of the bridge, he asked, What happened to you, Lily? I clenched my jaw. My mother told me I was an inconvenience. He didn't say anything. I was 17. I made one mistake. She picked her reputation over me. He looked like he wanted to touch my hand, but didn't. She locked the door, left my bag outside, told me not to come back. I looked out at the water. I crossed the border, in a bus full of strangers. I landed here by accident. Not an accident, he said. I've been alone since. Not tonight. I turned to him. You don't know me. I'm trying. I laughed bitterly. You think a few walks can fix someone like me? No, he said gently. But maybe they can remind you what warmth feels like. My chest ached. I should go. I'll walk you. We said nothing the whole way back. When I reached my door, I turned. Don't follow me again. I won't, he promised. Not unless I ask. His eyes locked on mine. Then ask. I didn't. But part of me wanted to, and that terrified me more than anything. Chapter 5. His world, my rules. My phone buzzed before noon. Unknown number. Driver will pick you at 6. Dress warm. I stared at it. No name, but I knew. I typed back quickly. No need. I'm not coming. 10 minutes later, another ping. Maxim. Then I'll walk. I didn't reply. At exactly 6:15, a knock at the cafe's back door. I opened it, and there he was, coat unbuttoned, cheeks red from the cold, hands in pockets like this was normal. You actually walked? I said I would. You're persistent. He smiled faintly. You're stubborn. We stood there for a second too long. Just come, he said softly. No strings, no pressure. I hesitated. I don't belong in your world. He held out his hand. Then let me bring you to mine, just for tonight. I didn't take his hand, but I followed. The building was tucked behind a glassy square lined with luxury boutiques and high-end offices. His penthouse was at the top, of course. When the elevator opened, the space looked like something out of a movie. Marble floors, black steel railings, white couches, walls made of glass. He dropped his keys in a tray near the door. You okay? I'm just not used to places like this. I didn't bring you here to impress you. Then why? He shrugged. You don't flinch when I speak the truth. I looked around. It's quiet. Too quiet, he said. Most days. A man appeared briefly from a side hallway. Late 20s, tall, wearing a simple black turtleneck. Will, Maxim said. This is Lily. Will gave me a polite nod, warm but unreadable. Nice to finally meet you. Finally? Maxim cut in. He hears things, I talk. Will just smiled, then disappeared into another room. Is he your assistant? He's my business partner. And my friend. I followed Maxim into the kitchen, which looked like it had never been used. He uncorked a bottle of wine and poured 2 glasses. I held mine without sipping. You live here alone? I asked. Most of the time. And the rest? Mostly alone then, too. I took a small sip. The wine was smooth, expensive, slightly bitter. So, why me? I asked. He leaned on the counter. Because you see through me. That's not always a good thing. It's rare, he said. And rare matters to me. I walked toward the large window overlooking the city. The lights stretched forever, like stars on pavement. Do you ever miss being unknown? I asked. All the time. Then why live like this? Because I'm better at building things than healing from them. I turned to face him. What needs healing? He hesitated. My father drank himself to death when I was 16, he said. I found him in the kitchen, still holding the bottle. I didn't move. My mother remarried within 6 months, to a man who hated everything about me, my voice, my name, my face. I whispered, I'm sorry. He shook his head. Don't be. It built me. Built or broke. Both. He stepped closer. I used to think if I built enough towers, filled enough accounts, drove the fastest cars, I'd stop feeling like I was still that boy, unwanted, replaceable. And did it work? Until you stared at me like I was more than a price tag. I laughed softly. I wasn't staring. I was caught. I looked away. You scare me, Maxim. Why? Because you're patient. Too patient. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached out, not touching me, just hovering. I'm not asking for anything, he said. You're asking for everything without saying it. I know. I can't give it. I'll wait. I stepped back. His hand dropped. I'm not ready, I said. He nodded once. I'll wait. And that somehow hurt more than if he'd pushed. I walked to the couch and sat down, needing space, air. He sat across from me. We said nothing for a while. Then, quietly, I whispered, "My father lost everything when I was 10. Gambling, debt, fear." He watched me, silent. He cried once, just once, and my mother hated him for it. She left? No, she stayed, and made sure I knew it was my fault. Lily, I used to think if I disappeared, they'd be happy. He didn't speak, just listened. I finished the wine in one sip and set the glass down. "I should go." "I'll drive you." "No, then I'll call you a cab." I didn't fight him. At the door, I hesitated. "Why are you really doing this?" I asked. "Because you're the only thing I didn't plan for." I nodded. "That's not always good." "Maybe not," he said, "but it's real." The cab waited at the curb. I climbed in without looking back. But the moment I closed my door, I realized something. My rules were no longer just mine. Chapter 6. The Storm and the Scarlet Letter. The envelope was plain. No return address. Just my name, Lily, in handwriting I hadn't seen in 4 years. But I knew it. My hands shook as I tore it open. "Mother is dying," it read. "She wants to see you. I think you should come. Alina." Alina, my sister. I dropped the letter on the floor like it burned. I didn't cry then, not yet. But by dusk, I found myself by the same bridge Maxim had once taken me to. My coat was too thin, my breath too heavy. The city lights blurred through my tears, and I let them fall. I didn't hear footsteps. "Lily?" I turned, startled. Maxim stood a few feet away. No coat, just a sweater, like he'd run to find me. "You okay?" he asked. "No," I whispered. He came closer. "What happened?" I held out the letter with trembling fingers. He read it in silence, then looked at me. "She wants to see you?" I nodded. "After 4 years, after throwing me out like trash." He said nothing. "I begged her that night, Maxim," I said, voice cracking. "I begged her not to believe the lies. I didn't steal anything. I didn't sleep with anyone. I didn't ruin anything." But she didn't care. I wiped my nose on my sleeve. I was 17 and blamed for things I didn't even understand. Maxim stood still, listening. They were in debt. My father gambled. We were drowning. And when it got ugly, they needed someone to point at. I was the easiest one. I clenched my fists. So I left. No passport, no money, just fear. He whispered, and strength. I shook my head. I slept in a train station the first night. 8 crusts of bread. I don't even remember how I got to Prague. Some woman gave me a coat, a stranger. That coat saved me from frostbite. His voice was low. "You've never told anyone this before." Because no one ever stayed long enough to listen. Silence stretched between us. Maxim finally sat beside me on the cold bench. "I thought hating her would protect me," I whispered. "But this letter, it cracked something open." "Do you want to see her?" I bit my lip. "I don't know. I want answers, but I'm afraid of hearing them." "You want closure." I nodded slowly. He looked at the river. "I remember the day my mother remarried. She wore white like it was a fresh start, like my father's memory could be buried under lace." I looked at him. "You hated him?" "Yes, and I hated her for pretending it was normal." We sat in the quiet, shoulder to shoulder. The city buzzed behind us, distant and hollow. "I've kept it all in for so long," I whispered. He turned to me, then let it out. "I'm tired, Maxim. Tired of surviving, of pretending I'm fine. I'm not fine." "I know. I'm scared to go back." "Then don't go alone." I met his eyes. "You'd come?" "If you wanted me to." Tears stung again. "Why are you being so kind to me?" "Because you're stronger than all of them," he said. "And you still don't see it." I looked down at my hands. He reached out, gently brushing his fingers over mine. "You don't have to hold yourself together tonight." Something broke in me then. I leaned into him, chest heaving, and he wrapped his arms around me like he'd been waiting. Not forceful, not claiming, just holding. We stayed like that, the cold forgotten, my heart thudding against his shoulder. "I've been so alone," I whispered. "Not anymore." His hand moved slowly up my back, a soft reassurance. His chin rested lightly on my head. I didn't pull away. "I don't know what this is," I said quietly. "It doesn't need a name," he murmured. "Just a truth." I closed my eyes. "Then stay, just for tonight. I'm not going anywhere." We didn't kiss. There was no dramatic moment. Just warmth. Just closeness. Just someone who didn't walk away. And for the first time in years, I didn't dream of running. Chapter 7. The Kiss That Undid Me. "Where are we going?" I asked as the cart turned off the main road. "You'll see," Maxim replied, eyes on the dark winding path ahead. "It's not far. I don't like surprises." He smiled slightly. "You'll like this one." We drove in silence, the headlights slicing through mist. The air felt heavier tonight, like something unspoken hovered between us. When we pulled up, I frowned. "A church?" He cut the engine. "A chapel, abandoned, mostly, quiet." "Is this where you take all your charity cases?" He looked at me. "This is where I come when I feel like I'll fall apart." I didn't move. He got out first, walked up the cracked steps, and pushed the heavy door open. Candles flickered inside, already lit. Stained glass glowed in fractured colors. Wooden benches, old but strong, lined the aisle. "You lit all these?" He nodded. "Earlier, in case you said yes." I stepped in slowly, breath catching. It was beautiful in a forgotten sort of way. We sat side by side on a bench near the front. The silence wasn't awkward. It wrapped around us like a blanket. "You don't strike me as the chapel type," I said. "I'm not. But this place doesn't ask questions." I looked at him. "Why bring me here?" "Because I wanted you to see the one place I don't pretend." I stared at the flickering light. "It's peaceful. That's why I come." I turned to him. "Why me?" His eyes didn't waver. "Because you looked at me like I was more than my money." I didn't mean to. "That's the point." I swallowed. "I still don't get it." "You didn't care who I was. You cared how I looked at you. You scared me. I still do." I smiled weakly. "A little." He leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Most women see my car, my name, my bank account. I didn't even know your name the first time I stared at you. That's what undid me." I blinked. "What?" He turned toward me. "You didn't want anything from me. You didn't ask. You didn't push. You just were." I stared at him. "Maxim." He shook his head. "I don't do this." "Do what?" "This, talking, explaining." "You're doing fine." He laughed once, dry. "No, I'm not." "Then why keep trying?" He looked at me. "Because for the first time in years, I want to." The air shifted. I felt it before he moved. His hand brushed mine, gentle, unsure. My breath hitched. He leaned in, slowly, so slowly. Like he was giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. When his lips touched mine, it wasn't hungry. It was soft, questioning, like he was asking permission. I answered. The kiss deepened slightly, just enough to stir something in my chest I hadn't felt in a very long time. When we broke apart, his forehead rested against mine. "I don't do this with anyone," he whispered. "I know." He exhaled shakily. "But I wanted it to be real, for once." I touched his cheek. It was. He sat back, eyes scanning the candles like they were safer to look at than me. "You scare me too, you know," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "Me? You make me feel like I could lose control." "Isn't that what love is?" He paused. "Is that what this is?" I looked away. "It's something. I don't know if I'm brave enough to name it." He turned to me again. "Come live with me." I stared at him. "No pressure," he added quickly. "No contracts. No expectations. Just space that's ours." "Maxim, just think about it. I can't be someone's ornament. You're not. I can't be controlled. I don't want to control you. I don't trust easily. I'll earn it." I bit my lip. "I don't know how to live in someone else's world." He reached for my hand again. Then we'll build one that's ours. I looked around the chapel, this place of quiet confessions and soft light. I'm scared, I whispered. I am too. We sat like that for a long time. When he finally drove me home, he didn't touch me again. Not my waist, not my hand. Just opened the car door like a gentleman and said, "Let me know when you're ready." And I knew he would wait, but maybe not forever. Chapter 8. Back to Moscow, barefoot. The air hit differently the second I stepped out of the airport. Moscow hadn't changed, but I had. I stared out the taxi window in silence until the driver asked, "This address, miss? Sure you want to go?" "Yes," I said. "I'm sure." The building was the same, gray, heavy, tired. I stood at the base of the stairs and stared at the chipped green door. I used to think if I ever came back, it would be with fire in my chest. But now, it just felt cold. I knocked. Footsteps. A pause. Then the door opened. Alina's face paled. "Lily." I stepped in without waiting for permission. "Where is she?" I asked. "Bedroom. She's not well." I figured that out from the letter. Alina didn't respond. She led me down the hall like a ghost. The floorboards still creaked the same way. I knew which ones would betray me. The room smelled like medicine and wilted flowers. My mother looked smaller than I remembered. Bones under thin skin. Her eyes fluttered open. "Lily?" I didn't move closer. "I got your message." A flicker of guilt passed across her face. "I wasn't sure you'd come." I wasn't either. Alina stood by the window, wiping tears. I looked at her. "Now you cry?" She turned to me. "Don't. You left me. You both did. I wanted to stop her. You didn't." Alina's voice broke. I was scared. "So was I snapped. But I was the one thrown out barefoot in the snow. My mother tried to speak. I cut her off. "You blamed me for everything. His gambling, the debt, the shame. I was a teenager. You made me the villain in your tragedy." Her mouth opened, closed. "You told everyone I ran off with a man," I continued. "You said I stole. You called me a disgrace." Tears filled her eyes. "I thought I was protecting the family." "No, you were protecting your pride." Alina reached for my arm. "We didn't know what to do. You did nothing. That was the choice." The room fell into silence. I took a shaky breath. But I didn't come here for revenge or screaming. I came to say something. I looked directly at my mother. "You left me, but I forgave you a long time ago." She blinked. "You did?" "Yes. Not because you asked, but because I needed to live." Alina whispered, "I'm sorry." "I know. They didn't expect my calm." "I survived," I said. "You should know that. I found work, a home, someone who sees me." My mother's voice trembled. "Someone good?" I nodded. "Someone patient." She looked away. "I'm glad." That stunned me more than anything else she'd said. I turned to leave. "Lily," Alina called out. "Will you come again?" "I don't know." I walked back down the same stairs I once ran down barefoot, carrying nothing but shame. Only now, I didn't feel ashamed. I felt free. On the flight back, I leaned against the window, watching the clouds roll beneath us. I thought of Maxim, the way his voice softened when he said my name, the way he looked at me like I was something rare, the way he never asked me to become anything other than what I already was. I wondered if I was ready to let someone stay, to stop running, to be loved without conditions. Maybe he really had been trying all along. And maybe for once, I was finally ready to try too. Chapter 9. Fire finally warm. I walked into the cafe with my apron folded in one hand and a quiet smile in the other. Jana blinked when she saw me. "You came back?" "Just for one last shift." She tilted her head. "Closure?" I nodded. Something like that. The place looked smaller now. Familiar, but not defining. Like I had outgrown it without knowing. I stepped behind the counter, washed my hands, adjusted my name tag, and looked up. Table 9. He was there. Maxim. Same coat. Same quiet presence. I pretended not to see him. Started wiping the espresso machine. He stood, and from across the room he said, "If you've stared enough." I turned smiling. "Take my order." His laugh was soft, surprised. "You remembered. Hard to forget a line like that." He walked toward the counter. "I wasn't sure you'd come back." "Neither was I." He studied my face. "How was Moscow?" "Tiring. Necessary." "Did you get what you needed?" I didn't scream. Didn't break. "That's not what I asked." I looked down. "I said what I had to say. That's enough." He touched the edge of the counter. "And us?" I met his eyes. "That's why I'm here." He didn't move. "Say it." "You were right," I whispered. I was scared. And now? Still scared. But not running. He let out a slow breath. "Let's walk." I untied my apron, hung it for the last time, and stepped out from behind the counter. Jana gave me a little wave as I passed. I didn't look back. We stepped outside, into the late afternoon light. "You look lighter," he said as we walked. "I feel it." "I was worried," he admitted. "You left so quietly. I needed to go alone." "And now you're not?" "No," I said. "Now I'm not." We walked toward the river again. The same path, but different somehow. I glanced at him. "You didn't pressure me. Thank you for that. You'd have left forever if I did." "You knew that?" "I know you." I smiled. "You're getting close." "Close?" "To having your walls match your words." He laughed. "I'll take that as a win." The water shimmered, and I paused by the same railing from weeks ago. He stopped beside me. "What are you thinking?" "That maybe I'm ready." He turned. "Ready for what?" "For someone to stay." He took my hand gently. "You don't have to be perfect." "I'm not." "I'm not either." "I know." He squeezed my fingers. "Lily." I looked at him. "Yes? I love you." My breath caught. Not from fear, but from truth. Warmth. "I love you too." He didn't rush to kiss me. Just stood there, holding my hand, like it was the most important thing in the world. And maybe, in that moment, it was. We walked along the river. No need for more words. No more running. Just fire. Finally warm.